Do you want to do the intro?
No.
You want to wave to the people?
No. It's yours. It's yours. You do it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Veda, and this is Mr. Simple, and this is the Simple Budget. Here on our channel, my channel, I show you how my family is using the zero-based budgeting method in order to maintain a simplified financial life. If that sounds like content that you're interested in, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button and join our little crew here. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. I recorded some of that.
Good. Lucky for them.
Oh, goodness. Excuse me. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Bonus Content Wednesday, and welcome to the coin counting Q&A. They can't see you flexing your muscles. They can't see it. It's just my hands.
Cut that part out.
Your hands aren't even here. Anyways, welcome back. Today, we are doing the long-awaited coin counting Q&A. We had planned to get this up in January, but we did not. And so we are following through and getting it up in February. So first, I'm actually going to jump right in. We're not going to do...
You're going to count the coins, right?
Well, it's both of us.
No, that's like, you got to start the video by you counting the coins.
No. This is a both and endeavor.
We got to, what's the over-under here? What are I'm saying less than 50.
I'm going to say at least 50.
No, you can't price this right, me.
Yes, I can. $50.01. I mean, it's largely irrelevant because, well, it's not irrelevant. I don't know why I said that. Hold on, let me pull these guys out. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're going to need lots of pennies. If you are new, this is my first video you're ever watching. I'm so sorry. But, well, it's a good video to get to know us on, I guess, too. This is the accumulation of cash spending change for an entire year. So what we have done, I say every year, what we're going to do is count all of this on camera with you guys, but do a Q&A along with it, because I have new subscribers and it's always nice to be able to share a little bit more of our lives with you. Although I feel like when you know somebody's financial life, you're like intimately involved with them. But alas, there are still questions, and I got some good questions this time, so I'm excited about it. I feel like this is probably enough. Also, I shouldn't be doing this. We should just be separating out the coins first, right?
Yeah, I mean, we got to separate the things, but then when we're doing it individually, we got to separate the coins. Is this even American?
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, it is. It's probably fake.
Oh, well, that's a shame. All right, so I'm going to start off with the number one asked question, and I don't think we were asked this question last time. By the way, I will link now. I'll leave a link for last year's coin counting Q&A. I don't even remember the questions that we got, but I don't think we got this question last time, so this will be fun. Because I was asked this multiple times. What is our love story? Like, how did we meet?
Hey, bud. What's up? Go outside.
Sorry, we were just interrupted by our son.
This is definitely Canadian.
Oh, gosh. That's not going to earn us any cash money. Do you think we could sneak it into the thingy?
No.
Oh.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so the number one asked question was basically like what our love story is, how we met. I think somebody even asked like how you proposed, so I figured we could just kind of lump the question like all into one grand question. So do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
No, I want you to tell.
You want me to tell?
Yeah.
And then you'll like fill in?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Simple was invited to a church that I was a member of by a mutual friend of ours. He had just broken up with his girlfriend, and I actually had just broken up with a long-term on-again, off-again boyfriend. And Mr. Simple was in college and he did not have a car. And so he needed to go to a new church because his ex-girlfriend was his ride to church on Sunday. And so our mutual friend brought him to our church. And I remember like seeing him, but I was not a big fan of this of this mutual friend. And so I was like, well, if he's friends with this guy, then, you know, like I was attracted to him, but I just thought if he's friends with this guy, I don't want no part of that. But then he stood up, you know, during worship, and he's 6'5". If you're new here and you don't know that, my husband is 6'5", and I'm 5'10". And so a tall fella was on my list of important things when I was young and stupid. It is now, like, if I could say anything to my younger self, not that I'm very, very happy that I met a man who was 6'5" and he turned out to be lovely. But if I could say anything to young girls who are single and looking, height is one of the dumbest things that you can prioritize when you're looking for a lifelong mate.
Listen, it's the only thing I got going for me, all right? Don't tell that.
That's so far from the truth. So please listen to me if you are young and single and looking for a life partner. If you have height on your list, get rid of it. It is the dumbest quality. And I'm saying this to you as a person, even though I'm tall, my dad was short, and my dad is one of the greatest men that I've ever known. So height is stupid. Anyways, so I was mesmerized by this giant who stood up in the pew, not next to me, but he was just a couple people down from me. And then we all like went to hang out at one of our friends' houses, right? Is that how that went?
Yeah.
And we started like talking there, right? I'm going to need you to fill in the gaps here.
They set us up.
They sort of did loosely plan for us to start talking and hanging out with each other, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Because I'm blanking. We started talking. We kind of really hit it off just that first day. Like, that was it, right?
Right.
And
I hit my head on the ceiling.
No, that wasn't that day.
No, I know that wasn't that day.
Oh. No, but what I do distinctly...
Part of the way that I romanced you.
Yes. What I do distinctly remember about that day is that my ex-boyfriend was my ride to that house that we all went to hang out at after church. Or was I his ride? He was either my ride or I was his ride.
I don't know, but in this story, nobody has cars.
That's so true. But I said to him...
College kids with no transportation.
Yeah. Because even though... Like, I know this weird dynamic sounds so weird. Even though he was my ex-boyfriend, we were still really good friends. And so either he rode with me or I rode with him to that house. But I said to him in the car, because I was sort of smitten with you at that point. I was like, oh, this guy is like it, you know? I don't know. I don't know that I knew that you were it, but I definitely was like, this could be something really cool. And so I said to him when we got in the car, I said, we need to stop hanging around each other so much because people are going to think we're together and it's going to stop other people from pursuing us. And he was like, what do you mean? Like, who? You know? And I was like, no, but nothing, nobody, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know. And then after that, they deliberately invited us over. The mutual friend and his girlfriend invited just the two of us over to watch like a movie one night. And that was like the beginning of the official setup. And so from that point going forward, we were like officially dating. And then on October 19th, 2003.
Oh, you don't remember?
It was 2003, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yes, it had to be 2003. No. Yes. It was October 19th, 2003. He asked me to be his girlfriend. And we've been together ever since then. I mean, we didn't really, we're never separate from each other from that point going forward. And then he asked me to marry him 3 years to the day later.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Was it 2002?
Yes.
It was
No, it was 3.
But we got married in 6.
Right. So it must have been like 2.
Oh, so 2 years later. Right. Yeah, 2 years later, you asked me to marry you, and we got married.
For about a year.
Yeah, we were engaged for a year. That's what it was. So it was October 19th of 2005.
Yeah.
He asked me to marry him. And in 2006, we got married. And we were very young. I was 20.
Young.
Yeah, I was 21. And he was 23. And that's it. Oh, and okay, so I will, because somebody asked how you proposed. So he took me to a restaurant in Philadelphia. And what was it, the salad course? I feel like it was the salad course.
I had planned up to that point, and then I hadn't planned that point. So,
Oh, he took me horseback riding earlier in the
Yes, I
day. That was because I love, like, that's like a fun activity to me. So he took me horseback riding, and then and then we went out to dinner in Philadelphia, and then that's where he proposed to me, was at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, it was like during like the salad course, which was
Right.
really sweet. And he did the whole, like, he got down on one knee, and everybody in the restaurant like clapped for us, and
some guy at another table said, "Oh, so there's no chance for me then?"
he did?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No.
It was a group of like, I don't know, what looked like middle-aged.
Aw, that's funny.
Yeah.
And slightly creepy, but that's okay.
Well, no, I understood what he was saying.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've been married since 2006. So 18 years, which it doesn't feel like 18 years.
No, 1 minute you're young.
Right?
And the next minute you go to the ER twice in 1 week.
Minor details. So
Some
that's,
point in there you live some life.
yeah. And babies and all the rest of it. But yeah, so anyways, I hope that satisfies your, that question. We have like other questions to get to though, so I don't want to like neglect those.
That was good. You remember a lot of that.
Yeah. The next question that I got was like I combined like logistical questions with like personal questions. So I'm just going to go down the line of like how I recorded the questions. The next one was basically like, do we keep a buffer in our bank in addition to our bills money? So
Not really.
we don't. Well, I was gonna expand on that a little bit. So like in case people are new.
Some of those.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to need you to tone it down. Okay. What do you
What
need?
are you talking about right now?
Well, what do you need?
Some of the things that we put the coins in. The coin,
Are
what do
you
they call it? Coin pouches?
are you sassafrassing me?
No, woman. Just threw them in a big pile.
I know. I'm the worst. Okay, so just to offer a little bit of explanation.
How do you even do these?
Oh gosh, I mean, when am I going to show you everything?
I didn't grow up doing this.
You just stick your finger in the bottom of the one. It makes it
Yeah.
easier. Here, like this. I'll show you. Okay. And then, so you stick your finger in the bottom here and then put the coins and let it hit your finger because it's easier that way if you've got the support there of something.
Okay. Well, I got to count out 40 of these things first.
Yeah. So, well, why don't we put all of the like coins together and then we can.
I mean, I got them separated here.
No, I know. I'm saying like combine our piles now, and then we can just work off of those piles. Just so to offer a little bit of an explanation here, we are not 100% cash stuffers. There are some cash stuffers out there who stuff everything, like all of their bills, everything, and then they keep a buffer in their checking account for online or debit spending until they can kind of reconcile their expenses. We are about 50-50. We're probably like 60-40. No, we're probably about 50-50. So our bills and things actually stay in our checking account, and we cash stuff the other categories. And so because our bills money stays in our checking account, we use that as a buffer because we are technically like a month ahead on our mortgage payment. So our mortgage money comes out, or sits in our checking account until the first of the next month. So that money, I know it sounds risky, and especially if you're new to budgeting and you're new to trying to control your spending, I would encourage you to maybe not do that, or use it as use it as a motivator for not overspending.
Yeah, the actual.
It depends on your personality.
Right. What it forces you to do is it forces you to be very in tune with when your bills come out.
Yeah.
How much you don't. Why did you do that? When your bills come out, how much money you have in there on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And actually, that discipline was very beneficial for us when we first started. When we first started, we budgeted almost every single day.
You're getting ahead of us. You're answering future questions, sir. So anyways, so that's how we do it. We treat our bills money as our buffer. Again, if you are new to trying to control yourself, maybe you might want to add in an extra $100, $200 into your checking account, save that, and have that sitting in there as your buffer for when you do make online or debit purchases. But for us, it has literally worked for 2 years to treat our bills money as our buffer money, because our mortgage just sits in our checking account for essentially an entire month before it's due. So, you just have to really make sure that you're not overspending and being impulsive, because, you need to pay your mortgage in case you didn't know. So that was that question. This one, I thought this is a good question, because we've talked about this from time to time here, but the next question is, how did each of you feel when you were finally debt-free? Do you want to answer that first?
Oh, I'm allowed to talk now?
Oh, this guy.
No, I didn't want you to listen. I don't want to get ahead of anything, by sharing my opinion on something. That might put us ahead of where we need to be. What with the questions. Listen, I don't ever want to forget who runs the show around here.
That's right. Don't you forget it, mister. Pass me your dimes.
No, they're my dimes.
Did you put the correct amount in there?
Nope, I just threw a random amount of quarters in this little pouch.
I don't know if you can be trusted anymore. Answer the question.
No, I don't know.
Mr. Simple.
What was the question?
How did each of you feel when you were finally debt-free?
Yeah, that's about the same, actually.
Yeah.
There was no moment of relief, because, what was our last debt payment? Probably something like $1,000.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just sort of a gradual shift over time.
Yeah.
Right. I guess the way I look at it too is, I guess the way I look at it too is a little bit like getting strong. Right. Mm-hmm. You make a decision that you're gonna select a strength building routine. Mm-hmm. You're gonna go about eating and sleeping and doing all the out of gym things that are required for that. Mm-hmm. And maybe you set a goal, like you say, I want to be able to bench press 300 pounds, or I want to be able to squat, 400 pounds or whatever.
Right.
And so you work towards it.
Yeah.
And you one day you're benching 185, and then a couple of months later, my quarters, my dimes. A couple of months later, you're 225 or 250, and then one day you bench press 300 pounds.
Right.
And maybe you can look at that and say, well, that's a good milestone. I'm glad I hit that. And that's how I felt about the debt payoff. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel particularly different.
Yeah.
Paying off the last debt payment as I did leading up to it, because it's a gradual change.
Right.
And now that we've hit 3 months, I definitely feel better. Look, don't get me wrong. There's a night and day difference in feeling between being out of debt and having 3 months of savings than there was being nearly $60,000 in debt. No question whatsoever.
Yeah.
But
that
it's
was
slow and it's gradual.
Yeah.
And I feel like most things in life that are worth doing are not night and day. They are slow and gradual.
Yeah. That's true, actually.
That's how I feel about that.
And we have talked about that from time to time. We didn't really have this big, you know, we've seen like the debt-free scream on the Ramsey show. And now to be fully like transparent, we still have a mortgage. Like we're not 100% debt-free. We're just consumer debt-free. And, you know, now we are saving, you know, for our emergency fund, which is exciting. But there really wasn't this like aha moment. Like the aha moments were just sort of, like you said, they built on, like with each debt payment and with each, you know, reduction in what we owed, it was those little moments that that I felt like there was just a consistent change happening, consistent, positive, disciplined approach to our finances that felt good all the time.
Yes. It was like a constant sense of I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, money was going to debt.
Yeah.
As opposed to flying out the door.
Right.
As opposed to spending that was creating debt.
Right. There was like an answer for everything.
Right. I feel that way about now money is going towards our savings account.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you know, spending it on nonsense items.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like a sense of I'm doing the financially responsible adult thing.
Right. And well, and it was also just like doing those things was sort of its own reward, like not rewarding the dopamine fiend in your brain. This is me personally, the dopamine fiend in my brain to buy something that wasn't meaningful or significant or whatever. And like the self-control element actually felt really good because we have a really nasty habit in this country, especially to be like, you only live once. So, you know, buy the dress, eat the food. And that's actually really toxic and detrimental viewpoint when it comes to your day-to-day life. Like those things don't make you feel better, actually. They make you feel more stressed or more anxious or, you know, whatever. And so your temporary moment of like very fleeting kind of happiness ultimately ends up being the thing that weighs you down in your mind and in your heart over the course of time. So that really for us, it was more like a long-term experiential general relief of shifting our mindset and our behavior to reflect our new priorities, so to speak. So yeah, I would say that's probably, it wasn't like one aha moment. It was just sort of like lots of building positive emotions over the course of time that having this good behavior enabled. You all right? Yeah. The next question that we got was, do we have any other savings besides our emergency fund? And the answer is sort of like yes and no. We have retirement. That was loud. We have retirement. I know. We have retirement and we have like the sinking funds that we're building up throughout the year. But apart from that, the answer is no. All of our money goes towards something operational. So our home, our family, vacation, holidays, things like that, or our emergency fund. There's no in between. There's no, like, we're not saving for anything else. I mentioned this in Monday's cash stuffing video, but one of the things that we also learned over the course of time doing our budget is how effective the snowball method is for everything. So our mindset is throw all of your extra resources into one thing and then move on to something else. What is this lint? Yeah, it's probably lint. I mean, that would make sense, right? So that's why we're not like saving for multiple things at one time. We're putting all of our effort toward, we are snowballing all of our effort toward each endeavor. So I did talk a little bit about what our plans are and our financial goals, and I updated those actually in my emergency fund update recently. So I'll go ahead and leave that video linked for you guys. But no, we don't have any other savings because we are like hyper fixated on getting our emergency fund set up, and then we'll be able to put our efforts at other things as well. So
yeah, and like you said, we do have sinking funds. You know,
yeah.
We have a vacation sinking fund, we have Christmas sinking fund. So we're not getting to, you know, December and saying, oh, we've got to pull from the emergency fund to buy Christmas presents.
Right.
And that's an important thing. We did that even when we were in debt. You know, again, we didn't follow the Ramsey method to a T.
Yeah, because we still went on vacation.
Yeah, although they weren't particularly extravagant.
No.
You know, and like you said, we do have a 401k going.
Yeah.
And that's important. And actually, maybe one of the most significant ways I would personally probably differ from the Ramsey method is if you have wiggle room to continue to contribute to your retirement up to your employer match. You know. Yeah,
we've talked about that.
Yeah, I would probably do that. But again, that's going to be individual, and there are smarter people than I who have made that comment or that tweet to the Ramsey plan.
Yeah. Oops.
But so for me, my employer match is 5%, and you know it's 100% match on that 5%. So it's sort of, it's almost like too good of a deal to pass up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now the difference is if that 5% is going to make or break your debt payoff journey, then
ew.
I know, I hate that. Cut that part out.
You said journey.
Yeah, don't do that.
Gross.
Anyway, let me try that again. If that 5% is going to make or break you paying off your debt, then you know that's something to consider.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm really judging you right now. That was.
Stop it.
All right. Next question. How often do we track expenses? So we touched on this a little bit. When we first started, it was like every other day.
Hold on, you're getting ahead of the question.
Oh, here we go.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
Just tap me when I'm allowed to say something.
You can go.
No, go ahead.
$2. $3. $4. $5. Okay. I had to think for a second. Counting and talking is actually very challenging. Yeah, so when we first started, we tracked expenses like every other day, and it was because I think like I was still learning to control my impulses. And I think Mr. Simple just wanted to make sure that like we were right on track all the time, and we knew where our money was going, and we knew what it was doing, especially because in the beginning when you're paying down that much debt, because we started with just under $60,000 of consumer debt. So when you've got that, you know, you need to stay on top of your spending. When you've built up habits that have allowed for $60,000 of consumer debt, you got to fix that. And so you have to stay on top of it. Now we do it anywhere from like 1 to 3 times a week. It just really depends on what the week looks like. And, you know, if we know we've been particularly spendy, we definitely put a little bit more effort into sitting down and tracking everything and just making sure that we're, you know, dotting all our I's and crossing all our T's. But we're much more fluid and flexible than we used to be. And it's really just because now, like, I think you can speak to this, but you have a little bit more faith that I haven't gone completely off the rails and just like spent money all willy-nilly and, you know, irresponsibly and all of that. So
when we started, we had we had not consistently stuck to a budget where we were tracking our spending.
Yeah.
Right? Ever.
Yeah.
We tried in the past, and both of us had gotten frustrated. We'd use other systems that didn't really work for us. And
Yeah.
we didn't sit down diligently the way you need to
Yeah.
if you want to be a functioning adult.
Yeah.
And say, I need to track this with the intensity that it needs.
Yeah.
So we not only had we never done that, we'd also never cash pooled.
Yeah.
And that
that
was
added
another moving part.
Yeah.
Where I looked at both of these systems and said, we need to do this every single day until we understand, until we get the hang of it.
Yeah.
And we did that for
a while.
a couple of months at least.
Yeah.
And then we got into the habit of realizing, like we got to the point where we were confident enough, we'd seen enough, permutations of this system that we could downshift.
Downshift,
and
yeah.
We basically do it twice a week now. We do it once, probably midweek, and then once, like Sunday. And
Yeah.
it takes like 20 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge investment of time or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's important because, as I've said this before, I don't know about your money, my money. If you've ever been in the military, you're going to understand this. My money are lazy privates. So don't misunderstand that. In the military, the lowest ranking member in the organization is a private. And privates have a tendency to go and hide places if you're not watching them very closely, and you'll find them like sleeping in closets and stuff, because if you don't know where they are, then you can't assign them a function. So my money is like that. Our money, it's lazy. And if we don't pay attention to where it is, it'll go hide somewhere and we won't have accountability of it.
Or your wife will spend it.
I was trying to give you an out here.
Look,
Anyway.
Listen, a man's got to know his limitations. You know what I'm saying? I know what my limitations are. I'm like, ooh, something pretty.
So that's
Ooh,
where
a
we're
candle.
at.
Ooh, a
That's why
mug. Yeah.
That's why we had to monitor it so closely.
I mean, I used to just go to Target and throw the dollar spot in my cart with reckless abandon. I'd be like, oh, I could use this for a birthday party. What an idiot. Anyways, so that's the answer to that question. The next question is completely superfluous, but I just thought it was so fun. Somebody asked about my skincare routine. They've heard me talk about Biosense before. And so that was their question. Like, what are other pieces of your skincare routine? And honestly and truly, I don't really have one. I am not fussy about my skincare routine. It doesn't have 83 points to it. I will do like a mask every now and then. I do under eye masks every now and then, but for the most part, I'm literally just like, toner. Oh, come on.
36. We need 4 more. We need 4 more quarters.
I don't even think we have, I wouldn't even know.
No, I don't
It's
know.
fine. We'll save them for next year. I've got like a slew of dimes and stuff too. So this is my skincare routine, and I only do it once a day. I don't wash my face at the end of the day. Like, I know that sounds crazy to some people, but sometimes when it comes to skincare, I think less is more. So I do toner, and I use, I can't think of the name of the toner, but I'll leave a picture of it up on the screen. And then I do an under eye serum, and then an all over my face serum, a moisturizer, and an oil. And that, for me, gives me, and Mr. Simple can speak to this, decent skin.
Gives you a very youthful glow.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I'm not like too fussy with it, and I don't do anything in the evening. I literally just go to bed with the same face that I wore during the day. If I'm wearing makeup, I take that off. But I just leave my face alone at the end of the day, which, say what you will, but I don't think I look too bad for 40. So
You're 40?
Oh, he's cute. Oh, he's funny. He's got jokes. Okay, Mr. Simple and I actually had a several hours break.
Several hours.
Several hours. Hasn't it been? Since from the last clip to this one.
I didn't know we'd be pluralizing hours.
It was hours.
Yeah, but then you'd say like a several hour break.
Ooh, I'd be curious to know what the like correct grammar of that would be. Maybe we have an English specialist in the audience. Anyways, we're back at it. I have a fresh cup of coffee. God bless Mr. Simple. And actually, if you follow me on Instagram, it's so steamy. And I just posted a little clip on my stories of my coffee steam because I really could sit and watch steam rise off of something for forever. I don't know why. I just find it mesmerizing. Anyways, we're back. And we actually only have a couple of questions left, which is fine because we only have
a couple of pennies left.
Well, we have more than a couple, but let's do the next question. Will we cache stuff indefinitely? Like, do you think this will be a practice that we stay with? Do you want me to go first, or do you want to give your own thoughts first? There is a question here that's basically specific to you, so just you wait.
I think we will, and in fact, I know we will budget indefinitely.
Oh, budget, absolutely.
Like this has now become a way of life.
Yeah.
Right, like, and I don't see us differing from, a couple of times a week. I don't understand how these people do it who are like, oh, we do it once a month. Like, how do you track this stuff? You sit there on like the 30th of the month and track 30 days worth of I don't know.
Right.
They must have a different method or something like that.
Right. And you and I you and I actually enjoy doing this.
Right.
But when we sit down, okay, this will give you like a little bit of insight. When we sit down, like for example, when we came back from vacation, we were gone in December. If you're new here, we were gone in December for basically 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of spending was going on during that time period because it was Christmas time and we were visiting with friends and family and the whole lot of it. And so many transactions. But even if we have a spendy week, when we'll sit down, Mr. Simple will be like, gird your loins.
All right, everyone, gird your loins.
Because it takes us, we have to sit down and it's better, here's what I would say, and actually this speaks to the cache stuffing portion of this question. If you can turn something from a nuisance into a ritual, you are winning the battle over your own mind against doing the thing that you don't want to do. So, even in those times where we were interrupted by our child, our oldest. What was it? Do you remember what I was saying?
Turning something you don't like into something
that
becomes a habit.
Right, making it a ritual instead of an irritation. And so one of the things trust me, sometimes when we sit down to track our expenses and go over that stuff, neither of us is in the mood to do it. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, this is only ever fun and this is only ever enjoyable, because that is so far from the truth. That is not the truth. What is the truth is that, even with this, we're sitting down with a good cup of coffee, or it's even sometimes just a moment during the week for us to kind of sit down and just hang out with each other. And so when something becomes a fun ritual for the most part versus only being a nuisance or a drag, that's the truest way of sticking with something. And for me, that was the most crucial element when we first started budgeting. The cache stuffing was, it was multi-purpose. The first purpose being it created content for this channel. So that was part of it. And I have said that before where, apart from having this channel, the cache stuffing portion of it feels superfluous. However, in the very beginning, it was vital for keeping me reined in, because it sort of helped replace the dopamine hit that frivolous shopping gave me. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, and I actually sort of disagree. I don't think the cash part of this is superfluous. There's something to having the cash on hand.
Oh yeah, watching it leave is psychologically,
Right, it
but
is.
we're at the point where that psychological impact isn't exactly necessary.
That's true, but I do like having cash on hand, and I like paying for things in cash.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
little bit more inconvenient in this day and age,
Right.
but it also makes you more intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. But to get back to the original question, will we cash stuff indefinitely? I don't think so. I think that, like, as much as I would love to think that I will always have an audience forever and for always, I do feel like there's sort of like a limit to, like, how, and I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong, I don't know, but I do feel like there's a limit to how much longevity I have here. And if I ever stop filming and stop having my YouTube channel, like, the cash stuffing portion of this, I think will go away for us. As fun as I think it is, I don't necessarily know that it would be a long-term solution, because now that the discipline exists, are you stealing my pennies? Like, how dare you?
Consolidating.
How dare you?
Consolidating.
Why are you stealing 10?
Well, because now I've got 50 cents here, and I can fill another roll. Thought that's what we were doing here. Filling
Oh, so now
rolls.
you want to have an attitude. So you're not. So now you want to have an attitude. Is the moral of the story? Is that
Why'd
what?
you stack them in stacks of 5 as opposed to 10?
Because 5 is more stable than 10.
That's not true at all.
It absolutely is. It's lower to the ground.
Maybe in the technical sense, but is there an earthquake going on right now?
You don't know.
No, I do.
You don't know what could happen.
I'll feel it.
Listen, 18,000 planes have crashed in the last 48 hours. So, I mean, I may be off by 1 or 2 of those numbers and dates, but the moral of the story is that we don't know, okay? Anyways, what I was saying was, I don't know that it is a discipline that we'll need to maintain. I will definitely, like, there's parts of it that I think that I would miss if I gave it up. But I think long term, like, I don't know that it would be necessary. We would just do everything on Mr. Simple's spreadsheet, and, you know, we would still have to work together, because I'm the one who does most of the spending in the house. And that's not even me being critical of myself. I just am the person who does the shopping for everything. You know, clothes for the kids, food for the house, household products, toiletries. Like, I do 98% of the spending that our family does. What? Do we have enough?
Yeah, I think we got enough for one more.
Nice. So yeah, I know that was a really roundabout way to get to an answer, but that's the long and short of it, is probably not. But for now, it feels like
For the foreseeable future.
yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to drink this, actually, because I think it's still too hot. I am such a sissy. You guys will have to let me know in the comments. My mom and Mr. Simple are the type of people who love their coffee, especially, like, piping hot. My mom, even with, like, soup, she's like I don't understand why she doesn't like her taste buds. Like, I'm like, why do you want to burn them off all the time? But they like their stuff piping hot. I am a sissy. I prefer just slightly warmer than lukewarm to drink hot beverages. And probably also soup. The next question that I got was about the carnivore diet and how I started doing it. And I've had some requests to do, like, a what I eat in a day. So I'll definitely be putting that up. I guess I can put it in a shorts too, but it'll be going on my Instagram, and I'll put it in a shorts also, just so that you guys can see what I eat in a day. But this is the long and short of it. So I'm going to give you, like, a brief Veda history. When I was 18 months old, I was diagnosed with something called juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. So that is rheumatoid arthritis for little kids, for juveniles. And I spent the better part of my childhood, and actually life, until I was about 15 or 16, on a medication, on an anti-inflammatory medication that had a super high probability of damaging my kidneys. Like that was one of the main side effects, and I had to have my blood drawn all the time to make sure that I didn't have kidney damage. I was told my entire life that there's nothing to the diet, there's nothing you can do to fix this, it's autoimmune, et cetera, et cetera. And anybody in my comments or on my channel or on any of my socials who has a chronic illness will know what I'm talking about. Modern Western medicine is very like, there's nothing you can do to fix this. If it's chronic or if it's autoimmune, you just have to live with this and treat it for the rest of your life with medication. So when I was 26 years old, when I was 25, why are you stealing $1?
Just hold on.
When I was 25 years old, I was overweight, and I decided that I wanted to lose some weight before I had babies. And so I started just sort of watching what I ate, made healthier choices, started moving my body, et cetera, et cetera. And then I lost a little bit of weight, and I got pregnant with my son. And at some point after I got pregnant with my son, I started hearing about the Whole30 diet, the paleo diet, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, I can do the Whole30 diet. So I read the Whole30 book because I wanted to understand the mentality behind it. And as far as I'm concerned, especially after being on meds for such a huge portion of my life, if the science experiment that I have to do on myself is surrounding food, I have no problem being a test dummy for that. Like, I'll change my diet for 30 days and see what happens. Like that, for me, it's like, I would rather do that than take a med, you know? So that's what I did. So I did Whole30 for 30 days, and it did unbelievable things for my body. It started eating away at a lot of my arthritis symptoms, because I still had them, but I was just hesitant to go on meds again as an adult. And I also had eczema at the time. Now, my first round of Whole30 completely eliminated any and all eczema I had forever and ever. It has never recurred since I got rid of it that first time. That it did, like, that first round of Whole30 did a really good job of doing a little bit of gut healing for me. But then when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was 30 when I had her, and my autoimmunity sort of seemed to like tip on its head. I didn't have a resurgence of eczema, but I had a harder time losing my pregnancy weight, which isn't necessarily like symptomatic of anything, but you know, being a woman and having a baby and all of those sorts of things, or at least I thought. What did you do?
I traded your daughter a dollar bill for 4 quarters.
Oh, smarty pants.
Yeah.
So
She didn't know.
she don't know. That's all right. So that was when I started realizing like something else is going on here with my body, because around the same time, I was like, at this point, my daughter was probably 2. I was working out like a crazy person, and I was not shedding a pound of weight. And I was like, something's wrong. Like, that's not normal. And that is also like in great contradiction to what you'll see the calories in, calories out fitness bros on all of the socials tell you. Like, you just have to eat in a deficit, man. No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, yes, you have to eat in a deficit, but there's a such thing as inflammation makes you hold on to weight because you're inflamed. So it doesn't matter how many calories, like, yeah, you could probably eat in a detrimental deficit and lose some weight. But even if you're eating at a deficit, if your body is inflamed, you're not going to lose weight. And that was something that I really learned, especially later on, like Whole30, paleo, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you're eating, you know, foods that are inflaming you, it doesn't matter how much you work out and how little you eat, you will hold on to weight. So anyways, it was about 2018, I was listening to Joe Rogan, and he had on a man named Jordan Peterson. I don't know if any of you are familiar with who he is. He's a clinical psychologist from Canada. He is politically divisive, but he says wonderful things. I don't care what anybody says about him. He's a good man.
There goes your audience.
There goes my audience. No, he's a good man. And I was listening to him on Joe Rogan. It was like a 3-hour podcast. And at the end of his podcast, Joe asked him about his diet. And I was like, why do I care what Jordan Peterson is eating? Like, what difference does that make? But that was the first time I ever heard about the carnivore diet. But what really triggered the listening for me was because he mentioned that his daughter had JRA, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and she basically had the same issue, except for it was with her first pregnancy. She was eating a certain kind of diet, and then with her first pregnancy, it just flipped it. Because if you have autoimmune issues, pregnancy can actually trigger those and make your body more complicated. So that was what happened. It didn't happen to me with my first, but it did happen to me with my second. And so that's when she sort of Googled one day, like, allergic to everything but meat. And that's when she found like the carnivore community. And so I just thought, I mean, my initial reaction was like, that is extreme. But then I was like, well, again, I can be my own science experiment. And so that's what I did. And so I don't even know how long I did it for. I mean, that was when I started, and I haven't really stopped. I mean, I've like ebbed and flowed, and I've tried to figure out different foods along the way that cause me problems. And I've definitely discovered more and more the longer I've been on this. But the premise of this, like, if you're able to do carnivore, you just eat meat and animal products. So that includes dairy, unless you are sensitive to dairy, and you will know if you are sensitive to dairy. That was a food group that I had to eliminate very recently, actually. But I just eat meat, and I know it sounds crazy, and I know that it is against conventional wisdom. I'm not calling that wisdom. It's not wisdom. It's against conventional knowledge. But more and more people are experiencing healing, not just like treatment, but healing eating this way. When I am strict carnivore, I don't have symptoms. I don't have skin issues, and I feel so much better. So that was how I came about it. And I will never not eat this way, because whenever I do have moments where I eat what I shouldn't, the reaction is instant and vicious. So, think like cantaloupe size knees, because they're so inflamed, and just very uncomfortable joints, and so on and so forth. So I know that was a very long question, or a long answer to a simple question, but especially when it comes to food and diet, there are no simple and short answers, and you really have to be willing to be your own science experiment, and you really have to be willing to say no to yourself, which is sort of in keeping with the theme of this channel anyway, or budgeting in general. So it just kind of works. And actually, through the course of time, like, Mr. Simple and my kids eat animal-based at this point, and it does good things for everybody. So animal-based is a lot more friendly. Like, they have meat, vegetables, and fruit. We don't do like rice or grains or anything like that for them. And it just seems to make life better for everybody involved. Yeah. So yeah, you feel better. So yeah. And that is the end of that conversation. And then the last question was actually directed mostly toward you. And it was, what was your reaction to me wanting to start this YouTube channel?
Well, I mean, I was generally supportive of it, but I'm also a pretty private person. Mm-hmm. And in this culture, it's like one of the more intimate things that you can discuss are your personal finances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, there's sort of a big social, it's a social faux pas to ask somebody how much they make.
Right, yeah.
What they're, like.
I think that's across cultures, isn't it?
Oh,
no? Oh, okay.
In other cultures, in some other cultures, it's totally normal to ask a person what they make.
Okay.
But in this culture, it's mm-hmm. Like, I don't think I ever asked my parents that question.
Right.
Or my sibling. Mm-hmm. You just sort of don't do it.
Yeah.
Unless you're like meeting with a financial advisor
Yeah.
or something like that, right?
Yeah, I didn't know what my dad made,
Right.
dad and mom made until
Right.
my dad died. And then we were
Yeah.
all sort of like
Well, yeah,
randomly
then-
helping my mom with
yeah, the books are
finances. And
open
yeah.
It sort of becomes clinical at that point. But
Right.
anyway, so all that to say, I was, you know, being a more private person and not really sharing that type of stuff as easily, I was a little bit apprehensive about that. So which is why the anonymity to, you know, some degree. Yeah, but the more we've done it, the more I've become comfortable with it, and I'm supportive of it. Well, I've always been supportive of it.
Yeah, you were very supportive.
Yeah.
I never felt like,
I what I really liked was that this was something that you wanted to do, and you said, you know, I'm going to set this up. I want to do it, you know, and this was a good way of staying accountable for you, which I liked.
yeah. And actually this leads into, we didn't get this question in particular for the Q&A, but I get this question from time to time. And so I feel like it's a good way to button up the video. I am asked constantly, how do you get your husband involved? How do you get him to care about this? How do you get him to participate in this? And the funny thing is, I'm the one who is the difficult one. Mr. Simple has, for better or worse, tried for the duration of time that we have been married to get me to care about finances. And it was always, I don't want to say a point of contention, but it was bordering on a point of contention. What I mean in saying that, it wasn't something that was like dividing our marriage. I don't want to make it sound like that. You're swirling your eyes around. Okay, no, share.
It's not something we were ever. It's not something that we were joined on.
No, we weren't. But what I'm saying is like, you know how like people say like one of the number one causes for divorce in this country is finances. It wasn't like it was pushing us toward, like you were like, I'm ready to divorce you because you don't care about the money.
No.
Right.
It was, right. No, not at all. But it was not a point where we were like.
Unified.
Where we were unified.
At
where
all.
We were pulling together in the same direction.
Right.
It was a point of contention, right? Because the cycle would be.
Yeah, go ahead.
The cycle would be.
Right. By the way, he's about to say something about me that's negative, and that's okay, because if I've done anything on this channel, it's own my own flaws here. And this is an important conversation to have, because I'm the person who motivated the channel, and I'm also the reason why we were in debt. So go ahead.
No. That's not. Listen, you've done a very good job at taking accountability for your own actions, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I was not at fault as well. I'm just not the spendier of the two. I'm not one who has the tasks of buying things for the house, right?
Well, those weren't the things that were causing debt either.
I know,
right? Okay.
I know, but what we both have responsibility for is financial responsibility and accountability, and neither of us were doing that.
Sure.
Here's the cycle, how it would go.
Yeah.
I would look at the account. I would know roughly what bills had to come out and when. I would do some quick math and say we have enough bills to cover that, or we have enough money to cover that, and then say, hey, don't spend any more than this, and then something would come out, and we never overdrew our checking account, or we only did every so often, and it was backed up by our credit card.
Right.
So it was not considered an overdrawn checking account.
Right.
You know, inevitably what I would say is don't spend any more than this, and you would say, well, I've got to go get groceries, and I'd be like, okay, fine, put them on the credit card.
Right.
Right, and then, we'd, get like a bonus at work or something like that, or, and then we pay down our debt a little bit, and sometimes even pay off our credit card totally, but we had no system.
No.
We had no system, and we were not pulling in the same direction.
No.
Right, and oftentimes what it was is you would, come to me and say, we really need a new couch, which we would, right? Like
We
the things you were saying is not true. Or like in my case, I'd be like, we need a new mattress because I'm sleeping in a hammock right now.
Right.
Like figuratively, not actually a hammock, but that mattress may as well have been a hammock.
Right.
So we buy a new mattress, but did we save for a new mattress?
No.
We didn't.
We just
because
put
we
it on
didn't
the
know
credit
how
card.
to do that.
Right.
So
Right.
we'd end up putting that
Yeah.
on credit.
Yep.
And so it got to the point, around Thanksgiving of 22, Thanksgiving of 22.
Which coincided nearly seamlessly with the very first cash stuffing video showing up in my YouTube algorithm, which was wild. Like when I think about...
I haven't said what happened. I haven't said what happened.
Well, no, I'm just prefacing what you're about to say with that because it's insane. Go ahead.
So in Thanksgiving of 22, I sort of looked at our financial situation and I was like, okay, we're at, what was it, 59? We're at 59,000 all told in debt, right? Between the car, the credit cards, the 401k loan. We had basically maxed out one credit card and we're starting to spend on the other one. And I was like, hey, we're not at the point yet, but if we don't do something, we're gonna get to a point where we can't make minimum payments. And we weren't, because when we sat down and started doing math, it was like, oh, we actually have about a $2,000 buffer every month. So we weren't nearly at that point, or $2,000 to put towards debt.
Yeah.
We weren't at that point. But I looked at it, I was like, we have little to no cash savings. We have a lot of debt. And if I lost my job tomorrow, we'd be in real trouble.
Yeah, real big trouble.
And that sort of coincided with the cash stuffing videos.
Yeah.
And then we basically sat down in December and made a plan that we were going to enact in January.
Well, and remember, okay, that conversation was when the first cash stuffing video showed up in my YouTube algorithm. And for you guys to understand how extraordinary that was, most of my YouTube content was beauty gurus or like fashion videos, like those kinds of influencers and vloggers. That's the kind of YouTube content that I consumed. I never, ever, ever, ever consumed like budgeting content ever. And so for that to show up in my algorithm was extraordinary. Sorry, I'm just making sure we're still filming. We are. It was extraordinary for that to show up. And so then for me, it became like a game. It was like, what is this? Like, what does this mean? And what are people doing? And then I started hearing more like cash stuffing people talk about Dave Ramsey, and Mr. Simple had talked about him to me before and mentioned like the baby steps to me before. I just didn't quite understand them. And frankly, I didn't care because it was like, no, I don't want somebody telling me what I can and cannot buy and all of, like, I am a very stubborn person and I'm a very difficult person to get on board with ideas that I don't want to participate in. So it was just one of those, like, that's why, like, I can't even say, like, as the person who needed to come around to the budgeting thing, but also as a person who was incredibly stubborn, I wouldn't even know what to tell you to say to your spouse or significant other. Like, I have no advice to give because, frankly, I don't know. I mean, okay, Mr. Simple actually taking the time to sit down and talk to me about it was like a huge push. Was a huge push for me, obviously, because I respect him and I love him and I don't want to be the source of stress and, frustration and all of those things for him. But like, I also had to kind of come around to it in my own way as well. And that's why I wouldn't even know what to say to get your partner on board, apart from just laying it out for them in black and white to see, like, this is what our financial situation looks like right now. And if we don't do something about it, if we don't make a change, it's only going to get worse. So I would just like encourage you to just, is this soot? This is soot from the candle. To just lay it out, like lay out the dollars and cents, put it out in black and white, and just tell your partner, like, this matters and this is concerning to me and I want to make a change. Because you can't do it by yourself. Like, you can come up with a financial plan, you can come up with a budget, but unless you're unless you want to treat your spouse like a toddler, which you don't.
That's not a solution, actually.
It's not a solution.
That will not.
No.
I cannot see a scenario where that works.
No, it doesn't. It's not a partnership,
You
right?
have to pull in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and I don't know if this conversation changed your mind, but the way I approached it was matter of fact. I didn't, it wasn't like a lot of like fear mongering or anything like that. But it was basically like, listen, we're almost $60,000 in debt.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, I can't earn enough money to plug this hole.
That is a whole ass car.
No, but my point was like, it doesn't matter.
No, I know. Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much, what money we're bringing in. We have no idea where it's going.
Right.
We have no idea where it's going, because before that I was budgeting by myself. And I was basically tracking our spending by myself and saying whatever we're left over with at the end of the month, we'll put towards debt. And it just wasn't like, I looked back at some of the credit card statements and it's like, okay, so this was a month. We spent $800 on a credit card and I spent $1,000 or paid $1,000. So we made $200 of progress, sort of.
Ish.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. When it just like, so I was aware of this problem a long time before you were.
Yeah.
I think it helped for me to sit down and say, these are the numbers, but that wasn't, like, I can't take credit and say that's what changed your mind.
It was a huge portion of it.
Okay. So then there is, and I would say, look, there's benefit to doing that regardless. It's like, what does it take to change your spouse's mind on something? And that's harder often because it depends so much on that human being.
Yeah.
And their relationship with money and your relationship with them and how you two communicate and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny that this whole issue really does touch on, it can have the ability to touch on the heart of your relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would just recommend, like you said, getting the numbers straight.
Laying it out in black and white.
Laying it out in black and white and relatively unemotionally.
Yeah.
And just saying, here are the facts as they are.
Yeah.
If we continue to make this amount, if we continue to spend this much, if we continue to grow our debt, we will reach a point where we are unable to sustain this. And
actually, so now I'm thinking about this. As the person who was, again, largely at fault for why we were where we were, he never said that. When he came to me, he never said, your spending has gotten out of control. We are nearly $60,000 in debt because of you. And you need to participate in this because you're the cause of it. Like, there was never a time where he approached me where it was accusatory, full of blame, or any of that. It was, this is where we are. We need to come up with a plan, and we need to make sure that we stick to it.
So you touched on me not coming to you in an accusatory manner.
Yeah.
That would have been totally counterproductive to what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
If I come to you accusatory, you're going to shut down. Right. So now we're in a fight.
Right.
Or we're not. The point of the conversation is to highlight a problem that you two need to work on together. The minute I come in there accusatory, now I'm your enemy. Right. And now we're fighting each other. We're not, and the problem is still there. So it does no good to do that.
Right.
My point in that conversation was to show you the problem and get you onto my side, or get us on the same page in how we're going to tackle it. And that is what it resulted in. That it was part of the solution to that. The other part was you realizing that it was a problem.
Right.
And you devising, basically, coming up with an idea for how you wanted to tackle it. That's part one. Part two is that's not the only, you have to, that's not the end game, right? That's not the only, that's not all of the solution. the solution lies in the work, in the budgeting monthly, into the tracking the budget a couple of times a week.
Yeah, the expense
Right, hold
tracking
on.
is vital.
Right, and it does not. Both people have to want to do it, and that's probably the harder part. A, acknowledge the problem. B, both of you have to do the work. Because I don't think in the past 2 years I've had to sit here and say, hey, you overspent. Actually, I take that back. Maybe once or twice. But not, it has not been a habitual thing where I've said like, hey, you're overspending. You're not sticking to this plan. Maybe once or twice, and you've always had like a yes, I know, but this is how I'm going to cover it. Okay. You know, so both people have to be there. It's sort of like the idea of like both people wanting to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Both people enjoying each other's company.
Yeah.
If you're, you know, if you feel like you have to constantly police your spouse
Yeah.
over something, like that's not the role.
No, that's not going to go well either.
Right. You know, it's the same thing with budgeting. Both parties have to realize the value of it and set aside the time
Yeah.
and be devoted to the task.
Yeah.
Right. To come and that quite frankly is probably why the final debt payment was no different. I felt no different than the previous. You know.
Yeah.
Like as we chipped away, because
Yeah.
we're devoted to the process.
Right.
Right, not necessarily the outcome.
Yeah.
And we were both in, and that was the like. And we were stacking success upon success. You're successful every time. Bless you.
Excuse
you
me,
sit
thank you.
down and budget, and every time you sit down and you track your expenses, and every time you make it to the end of the month, and you're like, hey, we didn't overspend, or we did, but we were able to cover that from this, because of course you are, right? Like.
Or your wife walks into Target and she doesn't spend $500 in the
Right.
dollar spot.
But my point is, like, you there are going to be times when you overspend. That happens, right? When the price of eggs triples because of bird flu or whatever.
Bruh.
And you guys eat like 15 eggs a day. I don't know, you're making poor dietary choices or something like that.
Raising giants.
So, you know, of course you're going to overspend, but in the budgetary process, there's the ability to flex. And when you're working together, it doesn't turn into you need to not spend this much at the grocery store.
Right.
It's we're joined together in what we see as the value of, say, good eating,
Right.
right? And that costs money. So how are we going to make up for that?
Yeah.
Again, the whole working together, pulling
Right.
in the same direction, not fighting, not contention, because that doesn't get you anywhere.
No.
You got to sit down. You got to treat that person as an equal.
Right. Well, because they are.
Anyway, I've bored the people long enough with
You have
my conversation.
No. It's good stuff. It's just the truth. I mean, it's one of those things where you're just like, this has to be both and. Okay, so that was the end of our questions. Where are you going? Okay, so this is all of the change that we have left. So this will go into the jar to be counted next year. Yet another coin counting Q&A video. Actually, here, let me do this. But do you want to push that over here? This is what we have. So I was right. That's really the most important part. I was righter. So let's see. Oh, wow, nice. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 62, 63, 64, 64.50. That's
Nice.
more than last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And here I thought it would be less.
You did.
I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, 64.50. We managed to save and change.
That wasn't fair. We had a lot of quarters in there.
It'd be what it do.
Yeah, well.
We don't know yet what we're going to do with it, but we'll probably come up with a plan. I'm usually the one this is actually one of the nice things too about budgeting and having like intimate knowledge of your budget. $64 does not sound like a lot of money. And probably in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to like what you bring in a month and what you spend in a month, it's really not that big of a deal. But one of my most exciting and fun observations over the course of time that we've been budgeting is that because I have such intimate knowledge of what's going on in the day-to-day in our budget, when we get in an extra like $64, I can apply it to certain categories of our budget and make a huge difference. Like it has an impact because it's over and above that which we've already budgeted. And so I get excited about these like little bits of money that will come in every now and then that are sort of unplanned that I get to budget for because, you know, I do have our budget down to a T so well that this $64, I could even stretch this across 3 categories and it would have an impact. And that's like one of the things that I've really enjoyed about budgeting is seeing the ways that you can make $50 feel like $200 because of the different categories that you apply them to and how that makes a difference in the long run. So I don't know, maybe we'll put it in dates and
Emergency fund.
Why do you gotta be like that? We'll put it in dates and celebrate reaching 3 months in our emergency fund. Because there is a restaurant that I've been wanting to go to.
Is it called emergency fund?
Why you gotta be ornery? Why you gotta be difficult? Dang. Anyways, that is gonna do it for us for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I know this was longer than usual, but it just is what it is. I hate like the idea of like not answering a question that was asked of us was just not an option for me. I like to be able to take the time to honor the community that supports us on a regular basis. We're so grateful for you guys, and being able to like sit down and do a video like this is really fun. So I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, I would love it so much if you would give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. And that's it. I'm going to be back here with you guys again on Friday with our weekly check-in. So if you are new to budgeting, the weekly check-in video is the crucial element. It's what we were talking about earlier because none of your plans matter if you don't hold your spending accountable. And that's what we do in those weekly check-in videos on Fridays. So that's what we're going to be here doing. Tracking our spending for the week. We really had like 2 weeks of low spending too, which has been nice. It's been like a nice little breath of fresh air. So not too much to go over on Friday, but it's all good. Anyways, that's it. You want to say bye to the people?
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and I'll be back here with you guys again on Friday. Bye, everyone.